Welcome to another episode of our Let's Talk About series. My cooling system is broken and so I couldn't play the horde test. Therefore I thought, before I do nothing at all, I can do at least a video for this series. After some comments beneath my last Let's Talk About videos, I remembered something that I even wrote in my Steam review about the Isle many years ago. This game isn't designed for everyone. So, in my opinion, the biggest problem of the Isle is pretty simple. Wrong expectations. As more as I thought about it, as more I wanted to make this video. Let's start with the elephant in the room. Alpha. I talked quite a lot about that in the last videos, so we will make this one short. But recent thumbnails which popped up in my recommendations showed me very well again. Many people still don't understand this topic and fall for this clickbait nonsense all the time. Just look at the new grapple mechanics from Omni. Jeez, so many thumbnails popped up telling me they ruined the game, this feature destroys the whole balance of the game. Seriously? They implemented a new feature on a test server. To look how people will use it and to get feedback of what they have to change. I really don't know how often I have to repeat myself, but that is alpha business as usual. They implement something, we try, it doesn't work, they adapt, it still doesn't work, they keep adapting, and so on. Every single time though, people go crazy. Seriously, how often will those people go crazy until this game is ready? 100 times, 1000 times? How difficult can it be to understand what alpha means? Sorry mate, but this topic drives me crazy meanwhile. People with no idea of development and no idea what alpha means are constantly telling us by videos or in the comments that everything is broken. All those expectations of an alpha to focus on bug fixing and polishing in the middle of development are wrong. To think new features will be added without any trouble is wrong. To expect that devs would owe you, me, or anyone a perfect gaming experience during the alpha stage is wrong. Educate yourself before you speak and spread nonsense. To even buy an alpha without informing yourself what that means shows that the problem is much more on your than on the dev side. Let's move on to another and, in my opinion, very important point. Dondi once said he wants to make a Tarkov with dinos. I often said it's like the sea with dinos. That's what I meant in my Steam review. This game isn't for everyone. It's for a certain type of player. In fact, it's a own niche or even genre. Those games have a very own community, even in different ways. Let's start with the hardcore aspect. Both games, and also the Isle itself, are designed in a very punishing way. That's something you have to like at first. Many people don't like those type of games. I'm talking about permadeath, the fact that you barely get information, that there's no in-game map, the aspect of suffering first to get experience, and use this experience to your advantage later on, like map knowledge for example. You have to dig into these games first, before you get to the point where you can celebrate successes. Which makes the success, for those who love this type of games, even more enjoyable. Because you earned it by suffering. Many people don't like, or even never played those type of games. And this leads to many wrong expectations. I saw so many videos where people are complaining about not getting enough information, no tutorial, and in general they don't know how to do certain things. Well, that's part of those type of games. That's what some people love about these games. That's a huge part of the immersion and the feeling of success in these kind of games. You can't expect a guide which tells you every move with big symbols, a map and so on. Yet, the devs already said there will be a tutorial at some point. The reason why it isn't in the game by now is because it's still in an early stage of development. It wouldn't make sense to make a tutorial by now because so many changes are yet to come. Anyway, they already move in the direction of that part of the community who desperately wants help. Even if it isn't something typical for that kind of game. So they have to do it in a way which doesn't anger the other parts of the community, those who want a Tarkov-like experience. They are constantly walking on the edge between the original idea of the game and what other parts of the community want them to do. Beside the hardcore aspect, there is also the sandbox aspect. The AC features zombies, but these zombies aren't much part of fun in the AC. The fun comes by the players. There are no missions, no targets, no nothing but players, loot, and zombies which are more of an alarm system than a threat or any kind of task. These games don't offer things to keep you busy like other games. There is no stuff to do, other than preparing for battle and try to get stronger by getting better gear, or grow in terms of the Isle. Every story in these games comes by the players. That's what those games are all about. Ark is also a sandbox game, but it has a tendency to an RPG. You can build and improve your base, you can do kind of quests by exploring the caves, and grind your way up to the big battles at the obelisk. What I'm trying to say is, Sandbox isn't Sandbox. The Isle is a sandbox in its original way, designed to be without these things to keep you busy. Personally, I love that, because I don't need such things. To me, the fun comes by the interaction with other players. No matter if it's a fight, a nice mate to hang out with, a silly mate to mess around with, or any other situation which comes by another human. Which isn't scripted and therefore exactly what I'm looking for in these type of games. I'm sick of grinding to a target, of scripted storylines which give me limited decisions and repetitive quests for no reason but keeping me busy. I don't need a game to tell me what to do. I have enough ideas of what to do myself. That said, the Isle even goes in the keep you busy direction. Features like the sanctuaries or sparring most recently are made for this purpose only. But they do it in a very subtle way, and that's why it doesn't bother me or why I even welcome it. Same like the mutations. They fit in a very natural way. You don't get the feeling of having to do things you normally wouldn't do, just to get any rewards in form of a mutation. Well, saltwater mutation does exactly that, but I guess you get my point. This game isn't designed for players who want to get rewarded all the time, who need a task to have fun, who don't know how to have fun by their own. Just think back of your childhood. Some kids assembled a Lego car exactly like the manual told them. Others tried to build as many different cars as possible out of one set. I always tried to build different cars. Friends of mine wanted exactly the car which was on the picture of the box. None of us is better. We are just different when it comes to having fun while playing. The manual type of player gets bored pretty quickly if there is no manual anymore. In this type of game, they mostly start to troll. Just because that's all which comes to their mind when it comes to having fun your own way. This sounds pretty offensive, but it isn't meant that way. It's just something I experienced in many decades of playing with others. Especially at the top of the hype of DC. Suddenly many of these players were around. They were hyped by videos, but pretty early bored by the reality of DC. Things like spawn sniping arrived with them. Well, I rather have a small community with less servers that suit my style, than hundreds of servers full with bored people. The point is, many complain about the lack of things to do in the Isle. But this isn't the fault of the island. It's just wrong expectations. This game isn't like Ark, Assassin's Creed or any other game which is designed to keep you busy. It's designed to have fun by your own. It's a sandbox like in your childhood. A place with sand and some tools around. But you have to decide what you want to build. So, these wrong expectations lead to many nonsense criticism, in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, I also understand the people who complain. DayZ is a niche game, but it's a niche game in a big genre, the first person shooter. There are hundreds of different shooters out there. You want to be busy, play COD or Battlefield. You want to play as realistic as possible, play Arma. You want fast PvP action, play Valorant or Counter-Strike. You want a sandbox experience we talked about, play DayZ. Even if you specify DayZ as a zombie game, which it isn't in my opinion, but just for the sake of the argument, there are also plenty of different zombie games out there. From co-op to sandbox to RPG to first person to strategy games like, you name it. I think there isn't a single genre which doesn't feature a zombie game. The Isle on the other hand serves a niche genre in a niche gaming topic. Dino games are already a niche in its own. There aren't that many out there. So of course I understand that people who are Dino fans want their Dino game in the style they prefer. Just because they have no other option. If there would be 100 Dino games which offer different genres and the Isle would only serve its own niche within the many Dino games, then nobody would care. You would just move on to another Dino game that suits your playstyle better. But to expect to make a Battlefield out of a Counter-Strike just because there is no other such game on the market sounds ridiculous, right? Well, that's what some people expect from the Isle. Its original design is for a niche of players who love games like Tarkov, and it's not a Dino game for everyone. Something many people often forget or even never considered when I think of some comments that I got or some discussions I had. The fun fact is, if you keep this in mind, you suddenly see how much the devs already moved in the direction of the other parts of the community, and how much they listen to those who want the game to go another way. But you can't expect them to turn 180 degrees. Anyway, that's it for today. I hope you will consider the original design idea of the game in the future, and we'll see how much they already listened, and also will keep listening to the community. You just can't expect the game to become exactly like you want it to be. Especially if its original design idea isn't what you are looking for. To end with a positive note though, no matter what experience you are looking for, the devs are aiming to give you the possibility in the end. Private servers will have plenty of options to configure it up to a point that it should fit for almost every player beside those who want the storyline. So there is hope for almost everyone. Your Mombi.